Hello witches, it's Keldon. I hope you're all doing well. Tonight I wanted to make a video talking about one of my latest blog posts, which was on the devil in witchcraft. I will leave a link down below to the original post. And also, just to put this out there right away, I do have notes typed up and I am reading off of them, so if I'm looking down, that's why, and I apologize if it's really distracting or weird. But for the sake of staying focused, we have them. So anyways, the devil in witchcraft. This is a topic that is highly contentious. I would say that right away a lot of witches would respond pretty negatively, saying, there's no devil in witchcraft, that's a Christian concept, we have nothing to do with it, so on and so forth. But we're starting to see a lot more in terms of witches exploring, talking about, writing about, and even just full-on embracing the devil in their craft, including myself. And I think that there are two main reasons why that this is happening, and it's becoming a lot more common. The first is that there seems to be this shift happening where many witches are starting to care less about what society thinks. So when the last of the anti-witchcraft acts were repealed and people started coming forward saying that they were witches, people like Gerald Gardner and Alex Sanders, and they started kind of going to the media responded by having a field day. They were publishing all these like crazy sensationalized articles about Satanism and devil worshippers and how, underneath the wholesome fabric of society there have been these dark people operating to undermine everything. And really just taking things way, way out of context. And so I think that there was then this push to really become socially accepted or acceptable, right? And sometimes it's kind of referred to as being like kind of a sanitation process where witchcraft was kind of whitewashed into being this like friendly, neo-pagan earth worship, fertility cult kind of thing. And I think we're starting to move away from that. We're starting to care less about what society thinks. And with that, more subjects that were kind of once considered taboo are starting to be explored. Things like hexing, working with animal parts, things, kind of those like darker, nastier kind of things are starting to be more accepted, at least within the community. And even that's kind of a broad statement. But the second reason that I think the devil's starting to become more popular in witchcraft is that more and more witches are starting to kind of look for more historically authentic practices. And I have many feelings on that, but with that being said, many witches are turning to sources like folklore and trial records, and these are places where the devil is really rampant, and he goes hand in hand with witches. So those are really the two main reasons why I think this is happening. So then we have the big question is, who is the witch's devil? And that's a really hard question to answer, and I can really only speak for myself, because I think he appears differently for everybody. So, for me, first and foremost, the devil is nature itself. He is vast, he is primal, and chaotic. He's not good or evil, right? Like, this is one of the first things when we think of the devil. Like, the name the devil carries all these connotations with it, and we think of Christianity and Satan and the embodiment of evil. The devil that I am referring to, or the witch's devil, he's neither good nor evil. He's both, really. When you think of nature, nature isn't good or bad. It just is, and that's how the devil is. He's also the master of in-between places, of paradoxes and contradictions. He's too complex to be defined in one way or the other. He's everything and nothing at the same time. I also view him very much as being a shapeshifter, a trickster, and a magician. He takes on many different forms and guises, and he moves between them really seamlessly. Some examples of those aspects would be things like the leader of the wild hunt, the green man in the woods, the black dog in the churchyard, the king of Elfame, the man in black at the Sabbat. These are all aspects of the devil. But it's important, again, to note that the devil, which I'm referring to, is not the same as the Christian concept of Satan. One thing to consider is that during the rise of Christianity, and even today, really any deity that is not the Christian God is viewed as being the devil. And Gemma Gary has this really awesome quote, and I'll read it to you. And she says that it may perhaps be the church, in its keenness to eradicate adherence to pagan divinity, by grafting and projecting it onto the diabolical, that has, unwittingly, most thoroughly preserved the potency, liberation, and illumination of the old one, and handed him back to the witches as the devil. Now, from that definition, it would seem that the witch's devil, then, is really just a composite of old pagan deities. And that's something I really agree with. It really lines up with my own personal beliefs. I really view deity, or rather, like all those potential old gods, think of like Pan, Woden, Cernunnos, Herne. I really view all of those as being aspects of one larger, overarching primal force. I know that is kind of... Sometimes I think that's kind of referred to as like soft polytheism, in contrast to like hard polytheism, which of course is that all deities are their own distinct individual persons, I guess. And so, to me, the witch's devil is all of those old pagan gods. It's all of those aspects that I listed before, those characters from folklore, and it's all of those. And the name the devil ties all of those things together in a way that really fits with the historical and folkloric context of witchcraft, which I'm really focused on. So I hope that was helpful, and maybe has got some people thinking. I think that it's definitely interesting, people's reactions, coming forward and saying, I work with the devil. Because again, people right away have those very, snap judgments, and they have those immediate reactions that tend to be very visceral. But when you look into the more historical framework of witchcraft, it's kind of hard to ignore the presence of the devil. This idea that, there is no devil in witchcraft is really more of a modern thing. And it's not to say that, you're not a real witch if you're not working with the devil or whatever, because that's not what I'm trying to say. This is just my personal view on things. And, one more thing that I'd like to point out is that when you look at some of those evils that the witch's devil presided over, they were things like self-empowerment, enlightenment, wisdom, acts of pleasure like dancing and feasting and sex, those natural drives which the early Christians and the Puritans were really trying to suppress, and lots of those things really are ingrained and inherent in the practice of witchcraft. So that's just another thing to consider when you think of the devil as the witch's god. Yeah, so if you have any questions, just let me know. And until next time, take care.